The clock is ticking on the Department of Education. In the near future, President Trump is expected to issue an executive order directing newly confirmed Education Secretary Linda McMahon to dismantle the department. This executive order has been in the works since before the president was sworn into office in January. Now, it's important to note the president doesn't actually have the power to abolish the department. It would take a vote from lawmakers to make that happen. Despite this, though, some people in Central Ohio are worried about what this could mean for the future of education in the Buckeye State.
Certainly a lot of uncertainty right now. NBC4's Delaney Ruth is joining us here in studio with reaction from local experts and educators. Delaney.
Jennifer Jared, Central Ohio teachers I spoke with today say abolishing the Department of Education could be devastating for their students and for their jobs. But a Republican strategist says people should not be jumping to conclusions. Republican strategist Matt Dole tells me people need to be patient right now since no moves have been made. He says Trump wants to send funding from the federal department back to the state departments, not to cut all federal dollars to schools and programs.
I think if we listen to the president, his goal here is not to cut teachers, not to cut funding to education.
Scott DeMauro, president of the Ohio Education Association, says President Trump's word is not enough to make him feel comfortable that students and educators will not be negatively affected.
There is an inconsistency in terms of what we're hearing out of this administration in Washington and what they're actually doing.
Dole says the president's goal is to cut bureaucracy and put more money directly into the classroom. But DeMauro says eliminating the Department of Education could mean cuts to special education, Title I, and career tech programs. Teachers here in Central Ohio have those same concerns.
I worry about my students getting the services that they need in order to have equal access to education. So it's just a constant, it's a worry.
And I'm thinking about all the other families out there that have kids that are considered SPED students. I'm worried about the funding, especially Title I.
Tracy Arway is a special education teacher in Central Ohio, and she says a lot of the kids she works with rely on programs funded by the federal government.
I worry that we are creating more of a system of the haves and have-nots, and I believe dismantling the Department of Ed will just continue to foster that.
Larry Carey is also an educator here in Central Ohio, and he says his job is funded through the federal Title I program. He says if Title I funding is cut, he could lose his job. But Carey is more concerned about his students.
I mean, our kids are who are going to uplift us and drive us to the future. And cutting funding for them is not going to do anything but hurt us.
Trump's press secretary said that the executive order on the Department of Education would not come down today, so the timeline on this decision is still unclear. But an executive order alone would not be enough to dismantle the department. It would take an act of Congress.